So let's talk about how voice is changing our the opportunities around our workflow. So the way our brain works is we really think in a stream of conscious kind of way, and the voice is really the closest way to sort of capture that. Unlike text, which is really an editing function. So when we think about brainstorming, we often say no idea is a bad idea. And we really encourage people to get everything out and speak. And often there's just a single scribe. And that's intentional because the person thinking and contributing really doesn't, we don't want them really limiting what they're trying to say. We want them saying whatever's on the top of their mind. So what is interesting about that from a workflow perspective up to this point is when we sit down to write, we're sitting down and we're asking our brain to both be creative while at the same time editing, because the act of writing is an editing function where we're sort of distilling down. And so the opportunity is for voice to be the perfect capture mechanism for what we're thinking, where we can essentially just speak stream of consciousness. And then later, at a moment where we are ready to do it, we can then capture and take those captured ideas and edit it down. And what is really powerful about what's happened with voice recently is we can leverage the fact that we can get near perfect transcription, but even better than just perfect transcription, which might be a lot of editing, we can actually use AI to then take this very unstructured stream of consciousness thinking and then put some basic structure in place. So we get it sort of organized at a very rough level. And then at that point, we then go and make the final touches with text editing. So that's a fundamental shift in terms of our workflow and how our brain works to make it really tight between this idea of capturing ideas in the creative space while then using our sort of distillation editing function in front of a computer when we're sort of typing. The second thing that this workflow does, aside from just better enabling us to capture our ideas, is the simple act of starting means that the likelihood that we move forward is just going to be higher. So if you think about it, how often do you have an idea and you're like, hey, this is a great idea, but then you kind of go about your day and then hopefully you decide to follow up on it later. And with voice, because it's 4 times faster to speak than it is to type, the ability to quickly get that idea out wherever you happen to be, maybe you're out at the grocery store, you're driving your kids to school, you're waiting in pickup line for a sporting event, whatever it might be, you can quickly get those ideas out, which then means you've started the hardest part, right? You've gotten the ideas going and now the ball's rolling. And so what's left is just to sit down and finish putting a bow on it in the final stage. So this not only makes it fit better with how our brain works, but it also fits better with the basic idea that the act of starting is the act of doing. And so we will increase the likelihood that you'll actually get your great idea out there into the world because you've started by speaking it. It's now captured, and the amount of time then it takes to sort of finish it is a fraction, which is kind of the third point, is the overall time is faster because what you've effectively done is you've gotten rid of the multitasking or the sort of swapping focus between creative and editing. You've been able to get rid of that in the process, and you are able to speak 4 times faster. So you've gotten the raw dump of information out in the fastest way. And then what you're left with is editing at the very end. And that's a pretty fast process because you're able to react. And then that will leave us with the fourth and final benefit of this, which is ultimately often there's time between that. So if I'm got a great idea, I'm on a run and I think about something, and then I go to capture it all. When I sit back at the computer and I'm in my editing role, now I'm able to do that with fresh eyes versus when I write and I'm editing and as I go, and then I'm sort of writing it, and then I'm trying to be wrapped up and done. Now it's harder for me to sit between the two different roles, right? I'm both the creator and the editor, but when I can put some time and space between those two, I can truly show up as an editor and actually give real feedback as if I'm reading it for the first time, because I am. And this, everyone I'm sure has experienced this. You've written something and you come back a month later and you read it and you're like, oh, I missed all these things. And it's because the act of you writing it in the first place, you were very close to it. And so that when you were trying to edit it, then it was much harder to sort of be impartial. And so this new workflow really allows you to separate and be a true editor at that same time.